Hey everybody, it's Pete. So today we are going to talk about ballot prep, how we manage ballots, get things ready to go out to the polling place on election day, and kind of everything in between there. So what you might not know is that there can be just an unbelievable amount of different ballot styles throughout the county, even though you're only getting one particular style. And so part of the reason for that is if you live in one county board district compared to another county board district, two different ballot styles there. If you live within city limits, outside city limits, there could be a difference because of a referendum there. And then when we have our local races up, obviously, some cities have different wards. So if you live across the street from your neighbor, but you're in different wards, you'd have different ballot styles. So one of our first jobs in getting the ballot together for each election is figuring out exactly which offices are up, the different types of races that are going to be on there, and assigning them to the different precincts and styles from there. Then once candidate filing happens, our job then is to actually prepare the ballots and do a proof. So we're going to verify the offices and the candidates' names. We're going to make sure all the district information is correct. We've got to make sure that the candidates are listed in the proper order, the parties are listed in the proper order if there's parties. We've got to get the layout just right, which we'll talk about a lot more when we get to how the voting machines work and logic testing. But all those tick marks along the side of your paper ballot, we've got to make sure all those are just right. And then we've got to proofread everything, make sure we've got everything spelled out correctly. So even small details matter because there are legal requirements for how ballots are prepared. So if a candidate puts a middle initial and a period, we have to make sure the period's there. Can't just have the middle initial. But if they only put the middle initial, then we have to make sure there is no period. So we'll proofread those ballots multiple times before you would see them. Then once we've got that done, we'll have to start printing the ballots and getting them ready for voters to vote. And we've got to be accountable for those ballots all the way through the process. So we've got to have ballots that are sent to the polling place. We have to print out our vote by mail ballots. We have to have the machines ready to vote and print out the different ballots in early voting here at the vote center. And then throughout the process, we are going to keep track of how many ballots got spoiled, which we'll talk about what that is later on too. And then unused ballots. So we've got to maintain accountability for every ballot is an important part with the judges here in the office, so we can make sure everything is above board, nothing is out of whack. And then once we've got things printed, we've got to make sure those ballots are secure. And so one of the great things about the voting center now that we have it is we have a secure room strictly for ballots, voting machines, those types of supplies. It's got its own security camera on 24/7. It's got its own security system. It can be locked. It's not in a public part of the building. That's a huge improvement on security from what we had over at the courthouse, just because of the lack of space in that building. So we've got to make sure those ballots and supplies are secured and not tampered with throughout the process. So that's a huge help here at the voting center. Then we've also got to make sure we prepare all the supplies and forms and those types of things that are going to polling places. So for example, besides the ballots, we have to have the poll books and the applications to vote that you guys sign, all the signage, all the forms that judges fill out. We're going to talk a lot about that in later videos. We're going to make sure that the voting equipment's there. We're going to have everything securely sealed up and ready to go out to the polling places and to the townships right before the election so that we can make sure everything's ready to go on election day. But it's extremely important for us that we make sure those supplies are all correct, that all the ballots are correct, all the apps to vote are correct, all the poll books are correct, and that they're secure and there is a chain of custody through the whole process. So once those supplies go out, they're sealed up until the judges are going to open them up when it's time to set things up for election day. So, it doesn't seem like it's a super important part of the process. You probably don't even really think about it when you go to vote. But getting your ballot prepared, getting it proofread, getting it all set up correctly, making sure you have the correct races on there is an extremely important part of the process, requires a lot of careful planning. And just as a note, if you as a voter ever get a ballot that you don't believe is correct, that you should have a race on there, like maybe you think you should be able to vote in a citywide race, but it's not on there, or vice versa, do not vote it without talking to the judges or talking to our office first. As soon as that ballot goes in, we're unable to make any changes, but we're more than happy if you think there's an issue with your ballot to verify that on election day or during early vote by mail to make sure we get you the correct ballot. So that's that part of the process. Like I said, certain parts of that we'll talk about more throughout the video series here. But next week, we're going to talk about candidate filing and how that works and how candidates qualify for the ballot. So we'll have that soon.